the internal controls. Once it's required by the ISA to understand the environment, the internal controls, then that environment and internal controls information systems becomes part of it. So the SAIs also have adopted as part of the INTOSAI, the ISA SAI adopted. It's okay. ISA also adopted the ISA 315, and the ISA 1315 specifies the auditor's response to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement through understanding of the entity and its environment, including that would be the internal controls of the entity. Requires us to look at information systems audit. Another reason, just as I've been asking different entities that you guys work for, another reason or want to elaborate on that is nowadays things are not all paper and pen that you could just go and look at. A lot of areas, postal telecommunications, petroleum and natural resources, and other areas are all automated, and they are using systems. So, it's upon us as an auditors or public auditors to understand how these systems actually operate. Are they secure? Is the data reliable? Who have access to the data? Has it been changed? All of those we could only know once we do an audit and have some type of reliance about the internal controls of those systems. So key internal controls over the entity's operations, now the operations, as you guys said, are all automated. So we need to have an understanding, which is part of the entity's understanding, and also to understand what risks are there, what controls are there. Mostly sometimes, if IS audit goes ahead and tests area and finds an issue, then we will let know our colleagues in the financial audit to say whether you could rely on the system or at least that area of the system or not. That necessitated more audit procedures around that area, because if the systems work, sometimes that will cut the and how many hours or how many tests that you want to do in that area, because you already have a reliance on the systems and what it produces. The areas that you need to review when you are doing IS audit is very similar to when you are also doing regular audits. One of the first things is because nowadays, since information systems is part of the entity, it does have some laws. I'm not sure in Pakistan, but other countries, like now the whole European data privacy is one thing, security is another that they look at. So there might be a government laws or regulations about information systems. So compliance becomes part of it. So when you're auditing, then compliance, whether they are complying in those laws and regulations, becomes an area that needs to be looked at as an IS auditor. There are also governance criteria that the entity itself might put in place, such as policies and procedures, such as structures, such as an architecture. Then it's upon us to make sure that the governance or the policies and procedures that are established by the entity itself or the ministry would also have to be adhered to. So again, that becomes part of the compliance. Another thing that I've just mentioned was the information systems data security. Is it confidential? Is it kept? Those three mostly is something that information systems actually looks at: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Those are what we call the CIAs. Those are important. It's very similar to the other financial assertions that you guys are looking, such as completeness, accuracy, and all of those. In information systems, those are the assertions that you'll look at. Confidentiality, which is mostly security, who has access to; integrity, meaning that the data hasn't been changed or tampered with; and then availability of that data, meaning when it's needed, is that data available to us? Because if it's backed up and you cannot access it, then there is a problem. If it's backed up and you could access it, then there's 5 years ago data, is it available? 3 months data, is it still available to you and also to the users? Another areas that also we do look at is the operations of the information systems. So day to day, whether it's somebody who needs help with their desktop or a system that breaks down or security incidents that happens, those are all part of the operations. So incident management, help desk, monitoring of the network and the security, all of those are important. And that has to be dealt with more effectively and efficiently, and especially economically, because that is important, because the entity's task is for some other objective, whether it's postal or petroleum or government ministry, such as the pension. The full purpose of the entity is to deliver that service or regulation, but IT is a help or an aid to that goal or to that objective. So what it needs IT is to be more efficient and effective. IT cannot be the focus on it. It has to be has to operate effectively and efficiently in an economical sense. We need to also, as an IS auditor, to look at that. Is it operating effectively and efficiently? Because you need to be cost effective and also to deliver what it needs to be delivered. So that is, if a lot of breakdown is happening, so areas to look at in operations later, we will see is the help desk. Are people having problems? Or even the main systems that are used by the either petroleum or whatever service deliveries, if everybody is having an issue, then that is where you could actually see and understand if there is a problem that needs to be enhanced or change management have to happen, or that system might not be the best system. Then you could recommend and say, okay, with all of those people, we could see help desk is having problem. The system is not really working as either designed, or the system is not really, or if the system becomes old, and then now you could see the problems coming or the people facing, or there is an issue with the main system, with the other systems that are used, because the people are facing problems to interact or the interfaces of those systems. All of those will come when you are doing the audits, especially at the operations side. We will see on the third unit, IT general controls operations is a module or within an area that deals with the audit. Different types of audits that could be done, but that could also be associated with information systems audit. IS audit is one of them. That is only when you are doing IS audit. But when you are doing compliance audit, IS audit could be part of it, as I just mentioned, because there might be some rules that specifically target information systems. So that needs to be looked at times. Financial audit is another audit that could be utilized in IS audit. Mostly when you combine IS audit and financial audit, that's also called integrated audit. That is when first it came out. That's what people used to say. This is an integrated audit, meaning financial and IT together. Operational audit, a lot of internal audits do conduct operational audits. So that also could be added information systems audit, because when you're looking internal controls, as initially said, ISSI 1315 requires us to understand internal controls. So if you're doing operational audit, internal controls comes in, and when it's internal controls comes in, IS audit also is part of it. That would be performance audit is another audit that the public entities do, or the governments do, and that could also be integrated. Mostly it's concerned with the 3 E's: efficiency, effectiveness, and economy of the process. But still, if you need to understand the efficiency and the operations, we just talked about the IT operations or service that has been delivered. If it's system that is involved, then you need to understand how that system operates effectively or efficiently. Forensic audit is another. It could be an accounting forensics, or it could sometimes be IT forensics. That is a whole area that deals with the getting ready what has happened, mostly almost like a criminal case, building and then making sure evidence and building a case in that case. Computer forensics, as just mentioned, regular accounting forensics is one, computer forensics is another, and then other functional areas such as looking at the software configurations, how it's built, and all of those could also be looked at. A lot of times CATs and data analytics could be used to look at any anomalies or what could go wrong on the system. Any questions so far? New people who came, could you introduce yourselves? The rest of us could introduce. If you want me to repeat, I will repeat. My name is Artan Osman. I am from the US, but originally from Somalia. I have most of my studies in US, and most of my work, at least half of my work, has been in US. I've worked at a custodial bank after graduating, and then went to PricewaterhouseCoopers for almost 5 years. That is where I got introduced to information systems audit almost 20 years ago now, in 2004. I've been involved in IS audit ever since. Last 10, 14 years, at least more than 10, 11, I've worked at the State Audit Institution at SAI, introducing IS audit, methodology, trainings, and also conducting field work in IS audit. And currently I'm also have worked on different agencies within the federal government as a consultant and also as a head of internal audit. You could introduce yourselves.